Alright, in this one, I'll be taking a quick look at Bitcoin and Ethereum. I got some higher time frame stuff I want to talk about, and I want to compare the two of them because they are doing something slightly different. I made a tweet earlier today, and I kind of want to, go into more detail about this. I said Bitcoin front ran its super refined support zone. And I am talking about this zone right here, the dark blue one. I have made previous videos about this, why I'm targeting this area, why I think this is the most important support for Bitcoin to hold. I basically think, either the top of this previous range holds, or we, re-enter essentially this range if we can't, just barely backtest it and hold support. And if we start losing this blue box, then, we probably rotate down towards the low or all the way to the low of the range. I don't think there's much in terms of very good support below this blue box and before the range low. So I've been looking at the blue box, the 74K mega zone, as the most important support for Bitcoin. And Bitcoin front ran it. We came very, very close to it. This box starts at like 74.1 roughly. Bitcoin did not hit its super refined support zone, but I think Ethereum did. Ethereum hit the last major support zone that I was watching before, basically running some old lows. I think if we can't hold this area, then there's not too much good looking below it. I think we could run some of this liquidity. And hang on, I actually want to take a look at this liquidity. Are those equal lows right there? Yeah, of course, a classic ETH semi-equal low. This is a very slight higher low. So there's potentially still liquidity sitting down there, even if it has been like 2 years, 3 years. Even if there's not stop losses sitting down below there, the way those lows look, it looks ugly. So I don't really like this area for support. Maybe we come down to this low and wick that. But, we are entering dangerous territory, I think, if we lose this support zone for ETH. And so I've got, a few different scenarios in mind. My scenarios was 1, Bitcoin makes a lower low, hitting its zone. So Bitcoin would come down to the 74K zone here. But Ethereum makes a slight higher low, or maybe even comes down to just barely SFP this low. But, the gist is that ETH holds this box, it does not lose it, while Bitcoin continues just a little bit lower, comes down to this major support. I have seen scenarios where Bitcoin, will put in a swing lower low, but ETH maybe just puts in a higher low just barely, front running that low. So that's, one scenario idea is basically Bitcoin sees a larger move to the downside to hit its support zone, ETH kind of holds the area it's at. Or 2, ETH gives confirmations here, and by here I meant where we were at in the moment, which we are in a support zone. We're backtesting the point of control of this range before we, technically broke out of it, although it's a pretty poor break. We just barely closed above it, and even then we closed within the SFP wick. There was initially an SFP here, we closed below the wick of the SFP, so that's a very not great break, if we're being honest. But we are now coming back down to a very key support. So, potentially ETH and Bitcoin both make higher lows in this area. And if that's the case, then I think they will most likely come back down later. I don't think Bitcoin is going to head back to all-time highs after, front running this major support zone. I don't think this is going to be the low. I could be wrong. I could always be wrong about that, but what's the point in coming this close to this low if we are not going to hit it? And I think one way to wreck a lot of people is by making everybody think this is the low. Maybe Bitcoin goes on a little uptrend here and then comes back down later. And hopefully not this far. Hopefully it, holds this area as support. But you get my idea. We get a little move to the upside, get people to go long before wrecking them one last time. And of course, there is the third unmentioned scenario where things just dump and we go into bear market mode. Not saying that we 100% go into bear market mode if Bitcoin loses this. You never know. We could bottom out in the middle of nowhere. It's just typically, you would want the key areas to hold. You don't really want to bottom out in the middle of nowhere because that doesn't really give you a lot of confidence in the low. You might not know that this is low until we're all the way back up at 100K, so I would prefer not to do that. So with that being said, I am watching right now for ETH trades. I think I like ETH more than most other things. I haven't really seen ETH look this good in a while because, first off, we are seemingly holding this support very well. One wick into it, one wick of the wick, and then a move up to technically break structure. Again, it's kind of poor, but it's still significant, the fact that we are seeing this much buying interest in the zone. And so I think if we get local confirmations in this area, that is looking like a super juicy ETH trade. One of the juiciest that I have seen in a while. And, locally speaking, I think what I would really like would be for one last lower low into this box of support, take out this low, maybe form some divergences on the low time frames, money flow and momentum, then come up, break structure, giving that last confident confirmation. And if that's the case, then I'll probably long ETH, coin M margin. I'll buy some ETH and risk that ETH. I think either this area holds or ETH is most likely going lower. So I'm willing to take a shot at what could be the last good chance for an ETH long, even if it's not meant to bring us up to all-time highs. I think this could be a very good trade, even if it's just to some local targets, maybe a high like this. So I am watching very closely. I do know that we are in a very erratic and unpredictable environment. Trump can open his mouth at any moment and completely change the way things are going. But that is where my ability to watch price and to know what I'm looking for comes in, because those that have the power to influence the market think that we are going to see bullishness from here, then I tend to believe them. So I'm looking for those hints. And, who knows? Maybe they got insider information. Maybe they're in that Trump group chat. We did see a nice bullish SFP of this low prior to that tariff news the other day. So maybe these guys knew something, and maybe they will know something again here, and maybe they will show their hand. So that's what I'm waiting for. But anyways, I think that's about it. I don't want to go into too much stuff here. I just thought this was important, so I wanted to make a video. Anyways, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed, consider leaving a like, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I appreciate the support, and I'll see you all in the next one.